This is Kevin Russell, also known as Shinyribs. You know what time it is? It's time to connect.
Hey, Kevin Russell, Mr. Shiny Ribs himself. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect, man. How are you?
Yeah, John, great to see y'all, man. I'm great.
Yeah, you're. I'm guessing you're coming to us from your home studio in Austin. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, out
Yeah.
here in the Roach Motel.
You have been in Austin for a long time, man. Probably 30 years. Is that right?
yeah, 30 something years.
You've seen a few changes.
Man, yeah, I've seen changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a picture today of some of my old mates that I moved to Austin with. Rob Bernard from the Picket Line Coyotes. He's a group of my friends. Keith Langford, who's the drummer for Shinyribs and was with the Gourds for years.
Yes.
He's part of a little group of some of my friends. They're all getting together on St. Patrick's Day to play Pogue songs. So they've been
Nice.
working up a bunch of Pogue songs, and he sent me a picture from the rehearsal. I was like, "Damn, they look old."
Yeah, I know, man. I'll be 66 this year, and I keep
Oh
looking.
man, you look great.
Oh, thank you. I keep looking at my peers saying, "Damn, they look old." Oh shit.
Yeah, I know. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you're,
I first was in Austin in 1973. My family. I went to high school in Northern Virginia, and we moved to Texas in my senior year of high school in '73. And I discovered Austin very quickly. I knew that was the place to be there. It took me 20 years to get there. I didn't move to Austin until 1993. But it strikes me as funny to hear people say, "Oh man, you should have seen Austin in the '90s," and I'll say, "Yeah, you should have seen it in the '70s." And
Yeah.
a friend of mine told me, "No shit." He said, "Absolutely, I'm not joking." There was this guy on the street one had kind of interrupted a conversation like that and said, "Y'all are wrong. You should have been here in the '40s."
Yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gone through so many changes, and the history is always fascinating to me. I know how much I missed. I mean, there are things I don't know, what I missed, but meeting people through the years like Crazy Carl and Eddie Wilson, people like that, they've told me so many stories. And I'm on a Facebook group called Dazed and Confused. Do you know about that Facebook group?
I don't.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's all Austin history, and it's
Okay.
always fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Corcoran posts a lot of things on there,
Okay.
just
Okay.
Austin history stuff, and I've learned a lot through that.
Yeah, right on. Well, you got to Austin at a pretty interesting time there. It was a good time for music for sure. Things were
Yeah,
changing, and let's see, man. I've got a bunch of questions for you here. Definitely, obviously, want to talk about your music and what you're doing these days, and your songwriting and your performing, which is so amazing. Maybe talk a little bit about the Gourds, if you don't mind that. And
sure. Sure.
but I want to start with maybe the toughest question.
Yeah.
It's easy for people to find out about Kevin Russell. You just Google Kevin Russell or Google the Shinyribs or the Gourds. A lot of biographical information out there, and I'm not going to ask you to, give us a biographical history.
Good.
I'm going to ask you a much more difficult question.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to say, Kevin, how do you describe yourself?
Myself?
Who is Kevin Russell?
Who is Kevin? Wow, that is a tough question. Well, gosh, John, that is a who is Kevin Russell? I ask myself that every day. I don't know if I've ever answered it well enough, and that's kind of why I do what I do. Is I think all my art, my writing, my music, I think is all started when I started doing it to explain who Kevin Russell is.
Yeah.
But
Fair answer.
I'm a really sensitive person, highly emotional person. There's a lot going on beneath things here, but I don't let on so much. I'm quick to make a joke, and I use humor oftentimes to avoid being serious. So I think I'm a very private person
Mhm.
emotionally. I don't
Mhm.
I don't let on too much of my inner life, like through through my performance or through my music. Really, honestly, I don't share too much. Literally, it's not obvious what I do write about it, but it's not. I'm
Mhm.
not writing linear narratives
Right.
about my emotional life. So uh, I'm a poet. You know, I write poetry. I've been writing poetry since I was a little boy.
Mhm.
You know, and I used to be ashamed to use that word,
Mhm.
but it's true. I am a poet.
Yeah.
I write. That's my life, and everything else creatively sort of stems from that place. As a writer, I think of myself as a writer first,
Mhm.
and a thinker, an artist. So, and I've somehow managed to carve out this life of an
You
artist.
have. Yeah. You have. Yeah.
And I'm so blessed for it. I at a young age, I remember having a conversation with my parents. They wanted me to go to college, and yeah, and I should have. I think I would have really enjoyed it, but I just was done with school, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna play music. I'm gonna play music. I'm a lifer." And I said, I'm either gonna be successful at it, or I'm gonna die trying."
Mhm.
I already had that attitude about it, and I'm stubborn as my parents, so I
So
don't
you
know why
knew
they doubted me.
you knew as a little kid that this was
I
going to
did.
be. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. Oh yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
I'm living my dream. Literally, I am. So
Amen. Well,
yeah.
I'm going to be presumptuous and add a few things to your. That was
Okay.
a really good job, but just from the outside looking in, two observations. One, you didn't mention you're a performer, and I mean that's
Yeah.
you're an amazing performer. You have an incredible stage presence, and related to that, I think you're somewhat of a bodhisattva. And that might not be quite the right word, but you seem to be a person who almost it's like your life mission to make people happy, make people smile. You do that with your lyrics, you do that with your vibe, your humor. Your music is extremely uplifting. So I don't know if you feel that's like a
Yeah.
calling or that you feel like you want to lift people up, you want to make people's lives a little bit better, but you sure do.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know that I ever consciously set out to do that, and I don't know that I consciously do it. I think it's just I
Yeah,
found myself in that position, and when I'm on the stage, especially, that's naturally what happens.
yeah,
So,
yeah. What kind of mindset do you have going on stage? Is it different every time, or do you have a kind of routine or a kind of mindset you get into when you get up when you're about to go on stage?
yeah, I'm not altogether sure what happens, but during the lockdown, I noticed that I was having these feelings during the weekdays, of like these sort of like not really anxiety, but it was like a nervous energy underneath
Mm-hmm.
that was bubbling up, and then I would remind myself, "Oh, I don't have a show this weekend." So
Right.
I'm always preparing for it. It's always on my mind. I know when I have shows coming up, and every day it's somewhere in my mind, whether I'm conscious of it or not. There's emotional stuff going on. So I think I'm always preparing to perform. I think maybe I'm always ready to
Yeah.
perform.
Gotcha.
But before a show, I like to, strangely enough, I really like to go out and talk to people before a show, that the people are at the show, so I know
Yeah.
who's there.
Nice.
People tell me things, and I feel connected to them, and I feel more like I understand who's
Mm-hmm.
out there. And so, because I want to connect to the audience, I want to create this feedback loop between me and them, and like I just want them to join the party, and get lost in the music.
Yeah.
And then honestly, when I'm up there, I'm in a trance. I'm just like
Yeah.
I just go and I don't
Yeah.
stop. And
Yeah.
it's really is like a trance. And things happen in the audience. Sometimes girls take their clothes off, or somebody gets in a fight, or somebody
Yeah.
passes out, or crazy
Yeah.
shit happens. And people after the show, the band, we all talking like, "You see this? You see that?" I was like, I don't see
Wow.
any. I see
Yeah.
the people, but it's hard to explain where I'm
Yeah.
at. I don't focus on them individually. It's like collectively that I
Yeah.
see them. I'm not sure what exactly is going on up there, but it's kind of like a trance.
Well, and it's a show, and anyone listening to this or watching it who has not seen you, they need to. It's so much fun. It's so impressive. Is dancing something that I noticed you didn't do a whole lot of dancing in the Gourds, but it's certainly a feature of Shinyribs. Is that something you did as a kid or something you kind of developed later?
Yeah, I did it as a kid. Me and my sisters used to work up dance routines to records.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what we did for fun, and we do little shows for our parents, and always was dancing. I love American Bandstand, Soul Train, dance shows. Used to watch those, and I would and What's Happening. I don't know if you remember that show, What's Happening.
Yeah.
And there was that character on there, Rerun. Can't remember the actor's name, but kind of a heavy set dude, and he was always dancing. So I really get a lot of my moves from that guy.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, I used to try and dance like him.
Right on.
Because I thought he was just the coolest,
Oh yeah.
And that was one of my favorite shows, really. So, I always danced, and my mom liked it. And then at some point, I got to be a teenager and got real stiff and rigid and punk rock, and I stopped dancing. Hip
not
stuff.
Cool. It wasn't cool to dance.
Right? Not cool. I was very self-conscious and angry at the world, and not interested in dancing. I wanted to scream more than dance. So I started screaming for a while, and was really full of angst until, I was much older, and it was in the Gourds. There was a song called Burn the Honeysuckle that we did, and Keith had a beat for it. He had heard that song. He said he knew the beat. It was this kind of funky little beat. And one night I just started dancing when he was playing that beat. People went crazy. I was like, hey, yeah, I could dance.
Yes.
And not everyone in the band liked me dancing, but that's what I started dancing.
I've heard you say that, actually.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know whether I should bring up Gourds with you, because I know that I don't know really any of the details, but I know it wasn't, the most perfect breakup of bands breaking up for you. But I've also heard you fairly recently, I mean, within the last 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, say that you would kind of like the idea of Gourds getting back together at some point, and you were going to reach out to Jimmy. Did you do that, or is it something?
I haven't reached out to him personally yet, but I think it's possible. I mean, he's making new music now.
Yeah.
He's got a new record coming out, and he's writing songs. So, I think anything's possible. So next year is 10 years since we broke up. So, so I thought that might be a nice time to maybe talk about it. Putting it out into the universe and seeing.
Sure.
But until me and him have a conversation, and at least maybe call a truce or something. I don't know. Then nothing like that's possible. But I've been open to it all along. I mean, I didn't really want to break up the Gourds. It just kind of happened that way, and things the writing was on the wall, and it was time to move on. I'm glad we did when we did. I still feel like it was the right decision, but I didn't have any hard feelings about it. I felt like and the rest of us have remained friends. I think it was just a more serious emotional split between me and Jim. So
gotcha.
I respect that. I understand it. And I've learned since then that a lot of things I blamed on the Gourds in that situation, they had nothing to do with that. They were my own problems. Because after it was gone, some of these things I still felt, and I was still dealing with. And I was like, I think I owe some people some apologies, and I understand how my behavior led to some of the situations. I take my responsibility for that. I certainly grew from it, and I made a lot of mistakes along that way, and I regret some of the things I said and did. But I can't take that back.
Right.
So, but I certainly learned in my musical relationships, professional relationships since then, I've certainly learned how to respect people and treat people better and to bite my tongue sometimes. Sometimes you don't have to say what you're thinking.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it takes us a while to learn that one. And man, you guys had a great run. I mean,
yeah.
I don't remember how many albums that, 8 or 10 albums, something like that. And a good duration, and put out some great stuff. And you have a fantastic thing going now. So I get the regret thing, and I don't know the details. I don't need to know, but the good news is life is good, man. COVID's finally on the downside. You're back performing. In fact, you're the hardest working man in show business, man. It seems like you are working all the time.
Man, I got a big band. I got to pay them.
Oh, that's a good point.
I got to make payroll, man.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, let's see, man. What's some of the stuff that you listened to as a kid? I know you went through a punk phase, I think, and you probably couldn't escape country music growing up in Texas and Louisiana.
Right.
Didn't you live for a while over in Shreveport? Is that right?
Yeah, Shreveport. Yeah. Learned a lot about music history there. I mean,
Cajun music and
Lead Belly.
Yeah,
Lead Belly was from Shreveport. Stan's Records was a distributor of a lot of great music that I learned about that. I was introduced to more like real musicians who made their living playing music in Shreveport. Like I had a lot of mentors there, people like Buddy Flatt, who was in A Train, Bluebirds, Paul Griffith. There were some poets in Shreveport, David Love Lewis and George Burton III, great poets who were mentors of mine. I had so many mentors. Bruce Gay was another one. David Egan, who was since passed, but a great musician. He was a friend of mine, and he encouraged me. All those older musicians, we were young punk guys, but they loved us. They were like more like R&B cover band guys, that's kind of how they made their bread and their living, playing just roots music. And I learned a lot from them. I don't know why. they found something in us they liked, and they encouraged us, even though we were loud and brash and sloppy. But I mean, in Beaumont growing up, listened to a lot of music. My mom and dad loved music. So we had tons of records. I mean, I had all these 45s, and we listened to 45s all the time. And I've, tried to go back and collect all those old 45s. So crazy, stuff like, it would be stuff like the Silvers, or, there was R&B stuff. Ohio Players was in there. But so was Ray Stevens, and so was Conway Twitty and Brownsville Station and Grand Funk Railroad. We had 45s of all this great music. Whatever the song was, I think my mom, she just liked songs, and when she heard a song she liked, I think she would buy a record. And I would like buying records too. And back then, I remember I remember going to the store when I was a kid, and you buy this certain kind of potato chips. And it was one big bag, and inside of it were two more plastic bags of potato chips. And inside it, between those two plastic bags, was a record, a 45.
Wow.
And you never knew what 45 you were going to get. I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, couldn't wait to get home to open those potato chips. See what record was in there.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Super quick story I'll tell you. You mentioned Grand Funk Railroad. I believe it was 1967. It could have been 68. But I was just a kid. It was one of the first concerts I went to, and I went to see Grand Funk, man. Couldn't wait to see Mark Farner.
Yeah.
And a guy came out. It was just crazy. It was this place where they removed all the chairs and they put AstroTurf down, like they were trying to simulate Woodstock or something, and guy comes out and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have some bad news. The opening act, they got their truck hijacked, and all their equipment got stolen, and they're not going to make it. But Grand Funk's still here, and we got a great replacement band, a band from Texas called Blood Rock. But if anyone here wants a refund for their ticket, you can go back to the ticket office right now because of the opening act was not going to make it.
Wow.
I was like, hell no, I'm here to see Grand Funk
I'm here
Railroad.
to see Grand Funk.
Well, you know who that opening act was?
Who was it?
A little band called Pink Floyd.
Oh wow, man, crazy, dude.
Yeah, I think it was
Holy
their first.
shit.
I think it was their first tour here.
That's amazing. Wow.
Okay, I've got a good one for you. Let me. I usually ask people about Bob Dylan, because I'm a little obsessed with him, and I like to ask people what impact. Is he somebody you revere? Let me just.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I went through a big phase. Yeah.
So if Bob knocked on your studio door tonight and said, "Hey, Kevin, I hear you're a songwriter. Play me one of your songs," what would you play for Bob?
Oh wow, what would I play him? Gosh, good question. Yeah, I've got a lot, of songs.
You do.
What would I play? You know, I mean, I'd be so nervous. I would probably play something that I was comfortable playing that I know I could pull off.
Yeah.
So, probably I'd play him Lake Charles, you know, or
that's exactly what I was thinking. That's crazy. Yeah, what a great song. And yeah, I think he would dig it too.
I think he would dig that, yeah.
And part B of the question, he listens and he says, "Okay, now play me a cover." What cover would you play?
I think, well, that's a good one too. I think I would probably play this Alan Toussaint song called "Let's Live."
Okay.
Yeah, I love that song so much. I play it all the time. So
right on.
it's one of my favorite songs to play. And it is kind of what I will default to often if I'm just in a song circle or a campfire. You know, that's one of the first songs I'll usually play because I just love it. It's a beautifully crafted song. It was written under Naomi Neville. That's a pseudonym that Alan Toussaint used.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure why. I think it was a publishing thing.
I
don't know.
He's one of those guys that so many other than musicians typically don't, people don't know about him, but he was.
Oh yeah.
He was one of the guys, man.
Oh, he's a giant. Yeah.
And
Bob would appreciate an Alan Toussaint song.
You bet he would. Yeah. So what is Bob? You said you did go through a Dylan phase. What does he kind of meant to you? And do you think he's influenced you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I mean, as for me, it was the first time that I saw, like a lot of people, I realized this guy is a writer. He's doing something with words, it's about the words.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a great singer. He's a great songwriter as well, but such a unique artist. But the words and the way he used the elements of American music, the way he pulled all different genres of American music and put them together to create something new. That's what I try to do all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly what I try to do. So he's a huge influence on me because he's one of the first American artists, I think, that I was aware of and who was still relevant within pop culture that did that. And I mean, people did it long before him, of course, but that's always been the way American music evolved, is people doing that, artists doing that.
Yeah.
And Bill Monroe did the same thing, but but he did it in a way that was relevant for the time, and it resonated with me, and I was acutely aware when I heard the first time I heard like Highway 61, that record, or Bring It All Back Home, those records.
Yes.
I mean, it just blew my mind. And that was sometime in early 80s, I guess. I heard those records for the first time. Now, the first Bob Dylan I heard was like Empire Burlesque or something on MTV like that. That's the first time I remember hearing Bob Dylan. Like, 'cause my parents, they weren't into Bob Dylan.
Yeah. So you went back and kind of got caught up.
Yeah, my brother had Bob Dylan's greatest hits in his collection, but he didn't really listen to much Dylan. I remember taking that poster out of there. You remember the poster that came, the rainbow hair poster in Bob Dylan's greatest hits?
Oh yeah.
I remember taking that poster out of my brother's record and putting it on the wall, or maybe he put it on the wall. But Gala kites, you remember those kites with the squirrely eyes? You put the stickers with the eyes on? I put one of those eyes on top.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's hard to overestimate the impact he's had. And
oh God, yeah.
I know a lot of people got pissed off when he won the Nobel, but I think it was a cool choice. And did you hear he's got a new book coming out?
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a couple, kind of start bringing it home here by asking you a couple of just sort of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And as I've been telling my other guests, you can pass, or you can say I'll answer it, but it's not going to be a rapid fire answer, or you can give the rapid fire answer.
Okay.
Right? What pisses you off?
No. Other drivers, aggressive drivers.
Okay. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I don't understand this, John. I mean, we live in a time where you have GPS. You can put in where you're going, and most people do, and it'll tell you when you're going to get there, and it'll tell you the best route to take. And there's nothing you can do. If you've ever tried, I've tried, there's nothing you can do really to get there sooner than it says. Maybe you could shave a couple of minutes off.
Yeah. Those critical minutes.
Yeah, weaving in and out of traffic. You're in traffic. You're weaving in and out. You're not making. You're racing. People think they're racing against other people, but we're not going to the same location, so we can't race. You're not racing anyone.
Is it a video game to them, you think?
I don't know. I just don't understand it. It's an animal behavior. I think they're like, it's an animal competition thing. I don't know what it is, but I just don't get it. And so
I don't either.
Because you can't make time by passing other motorists. You don't.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, and I'll tell you, I feel like it's gotten worse. And I know one thing that I'm pretty sure has gotten worse. The thing where you're driving down a road and someone pulls up to a stop sign.
Yeah.
And instead of just waiting for you to pass, they pull out in front of you and make you hit your brakes and slow down for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of a disrespect of people.
It's
like, my time is more important than yours, so I'm going to make you slow down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's I mean. I don't let it. I try not to let it piss me off because it's bad for you to get angry. So I just, occasionally I'm just like, I just don't get it. It's just not logical. But I do say a little bit of a mantra before I get in the car and go driving. I'm like, okay, remain calm. Everything's good. Everything's cool. Don't let it get to you. Just drive cool. And I just say, everybody's time is more important than mine. I'm going to let them go. Yeah, you go ahead. You're a VIP. You go ahead.
Amen. That's a damn good attitude, actually.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next question. How do you have a way of dealing not just with traffic and bad drivers, but just the slings and arrows that we all have to deal with? Do you have any methods? Do you meditate, or do you have any kind of ways of dealing with these things?
Well, I have a really bad temper, and it's ugly. It's really ugly.
Really?
It doesn't happen very often. I have a long fuse, but when it goes, it goes. And you can ask my family or my bandmates or anyone who's ever seen that ugly person. It's rare, but he does come out occasionally. So I want to avoid that, and I never feel good about it afterwards. Nothing good comes from it. So, I just try to breathe, and I try to, if I start getting upset, I try to get away from the situation. I will often walk away from it. A chair might be destroyed. Something might get thrown against the wall.
I can't picture that. I have a new concept of you, man.
I've destroyed a lot of furniture in my time, but
wow.
But as I get older, it's less of an issue, but but I can get angry, and I'm aware of it, and so I was never a fighter, but if I'm pushed, I will fight, but I'm not ever looking for a fight. But if it has happened occasionally, where somebody just pushes my buttons and they don't stop, and I warn them.
Yeah.
Like, you need to stop right now. I'm walking away.
Yeah.
If you keep
I don't think I'd mess with you if you were angry. I think you've convinced me. So next question. What are you most proud of?
Oh my God, my children.
Yeah.
my marriage, my family, you know, definitely. I'm proud of who I am, proud of where I'm from. You know, I know it's hard to imagine, but I am proud of Texas. I'm proud of Beaumont and proud of Shreveport. I'm proud of my friends that I've made in all these places. My music, my band. I mean, I'm not going to walk around and crow about it, but I'm very proud of all of the people in my life. I guess I'm just blessed, you know, that I've had such a great life with so many great people that have loved me, and I've been able to love them back. Yeah, I'm proud of it.
That's really beautiful. And it sounds to me like you would probably agree with me when I say the secret sauce is gratitude.
Oh man, that is really true. I like that. I like that. I thought it was ketchup and mayonnaise, but it is gratitude.
That's not bad either. Now you mentioned your kids, and you have grown kids. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, my youngest is 15, and my oldest is going to be 24 tomorrow, actually.
Oh well, happy birthday! Yeah. And are any of them musicians?
No, they're all musical, but none of them wanted to be musicians. My daughter played guitar for a little while. My son, my oldest, he can play drums, and he's had little garage bands with his friends, you know, and he's good. But none of them are really serious about it. None of them got the fever for it.
Yeah. You gotta have, if you're gonna make it your living, you better have the fever for it.
That's what I tell parents when they ask me about it. I'm like, man, you can get kids lessons, and if they showed some talent and they want lessons, then absolutely get them lessons. Yeah. You know, don't force anybody to do it. If they don't want to do it, don't make them do it. But you know, and I said if they have the fever, they're going to do it. You can do it. You won't be able to stop them. You know,
that's right. Yeah. My oldest daughter is about to graduate college and is headed to New York, man. She's Broadway is her dream.
Wow. All right.
All she's ever wanted to do, and you're absolutely right. There's nothing I I supported it all the way. My wife and I both supported it all the way, but there's nothing we could have done. That was
nothing you can do. Gotta sing, gotta dance.
Amen, brother. All right, a couple more questions. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
Here's a tough one, but it's kind of such a cliche question. We've all gotten it before, so you'll probably have an answer for it. You're on the deserted island, and you got one album you can take with you.
Woo!
I guess you must have a turntable there too on that deserted island. But you got one album. What's it gonna be?
One album? Oh my God. Well, it would have to be an anthology of some kind.
Okay. Yeah, you can cheat. You can cheat and do that.
Yeah.
Take a triple album.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, for like an album, the one album I'd take with me, man, it would probably be like there's a Leadbelly compilation. I think it's called his Last Sessions.
Yeah.
So comprehensive recordings of him near the end of his life, and he's still great. And interviews, and I would probably take that because that's one thing I could listen to constantly. Or maybe Tom Waits. What is that?
Any Tom Waits record.
Any Tom Waits record, yeah, really.
But early or late? Do you?
Well, there's a later one that, later Tom Waits. I mean, start with like Rain Dog, Swordfish Trombones from that point on. The earlier sort of jazzy stuff is cool, but like for me, like Swordfish Trombones on. But there is that, I can't remember.
Mule Variations.
Mule Variations is good, but there's one. It's like a compilation of like B-sides and unreleased stuff. It's called Ballers, Brawlers.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. I love that record.
Okay, those are good ones. Those are good ones.
I'll sneak one of those in my bag on the way to the island. You won't see it. I'll have two records. I'll show you.
I'm gonna have two. And who, if you could put together a bill with someone opening up for Shinyribs or Shinyribs opening up for someone who you've never shared the stage with, and dream big, man. Who are you opening up for?
Wow. Who am I opening up for? Wow. Tom Waits would be one for sure. Yeah. I mean, he's one of my favorites. Bob Dylan is good. Costello.
Yeah.
Chrissy Hine would be cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be a lot of them. There's so many.
All right. One more question. Actually, let me give you two.
Yeah.
What happens when we die?
You know, I think lately I'm this changes all the time, but lately I'm liking I listen to a lot of Ram Dass, old Ram Dass lectures.
Sure. Yeah.
He's got a podcast. Well, they have a podcast that they just play his old talks.
Yeah.
Really fun to listen to. So I like this idea. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the universe is energy, and I feel like it's sound, it's vibration, it's music. That's why music does what it does to us. I feel like the whole universe is like some kind of frequency. It's a sound and an energy that we don't altogether understand and can't quantify or measure or find, but I think it's all around us. So I think when we die, I think there's just our true selves are that. It's a frequency or a vibration. It's energy that returns to that ocean of jams.
Nice. And this is what the whole jam band thing is trying to get to.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
They're preparing you for the afterlife.
Like Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. Is that what I think? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Truly, I promise the last question. And I think it's an easy one. I think it's a softball. When you are dead and gone and you become that sound of the universe, what do you hope people say about you?
Well, I hope people say that I was kind and that I made a positive difference in people's lives and maybe left the world better than I found it. I hope something like that. I mean, that's really what I hope. Yeah. And I certainly try and treat everyone. I'm an egalitarian and I try and treat everybody as my equal. And as a performer, that's hard to do because people, they project things onto you.
Right.
And I think for a lot of performers that affects who they are. They become somebody else. And
I mean, they even project your image onto their shirts.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I want more than anything for people to know that I'm just like them. Yeah. And I'm not special. I have gifts and I'm glad to share them, but it doesn't make me better than you. So.
Man, that's a great answer. Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
John. Thank you, brother.
Talking to you. And you're out playing so much. I know I'm going to catch you soon, and I'll holler at you when I do. But good luck to you. See you down the road.
All right,
thanks,
brother.
man. Bye-bye.
Okay.